Okay, so today we want to take a deeper look to tools. Actually, we did it in previous lab, but there are many tools, and we cannot cover all of them. But we will see a few use to them. I mean for them, and we will see if we can find some better tools in order to assist us in uh, designing models. So one thing that is kind of remaining from the maybe previous session is, if you remember, is adding some buttons. Actually I told you that I will try to find maybe a better way so that you can kind of save some time in uh, designing and, for example, adding these things. But actually there are no uh, that much things, but there are maybe a few things that I can. I mean, I didn't find a better way for doing such thing, but let me show you something. So that's not really important here, but since I just told you that, I will tell you. So as you remember, for example, you could uh, as you could extrude these meshes, these are faces upward. For doing that, you can either go to this extrude and then move them upward, and let me just make this division to 1. But as you see, there are quite a distance between the buttons. So one thing that could be useful, for example, is to, let's say, select all of them. So select, for example, 7 faces, then extrude them, and let me again make the divisions 1, and make the keep faces together off. Yeah, and then with some offset you can kind of move the faces apart from each other, and that could be useful for making some simple buttons, but that's not the best way for doing that. So if I mean the other way that you can do, which is not going to work for adding multiple buttons in one face, I think we said that, but let me just quickly go through it. You can easily just let me just do it. Yeah, you can easily use the multi-cut kit or tool, and just do something like this. And with having that, you can just select these vertices, and for selecting multiple vertices, you just hold shift and then click on your vertices. And if you remember from previous lab, for making sure that we have selected correct vertices, for example, you may accidentally select this one as well. You can see that the kind of this move tool kind of goes into center of these points, and with looking at this pivot, for example, I can say that I have selected one vertex, yeah, which I didn't intend to do that. So by pressing Control, actually Windows, and going over the vertices you don't want, or clicking on them, you will just deselect them, and then with having that, you can quickly bevel your vertex, and you can go with whatever number fits the best for you, and then you can select these faces and go with extrude, and yeah, so that would be something like that. And just recalling what we saw in the previous let's say session, by going to the smooth mode with pressing the 3 button on your keyboard, you will see a kind of a smooth object. But let's say you don't want your buttons to be smooth, you want them to be kind of rectangular. For doing that, you can either go and select all these edges, and you can see that it's kind of easier to go to some views such as front or side, so that you can clearly see and differentiate these edges. And then by selecting them, you can go to bevel and just play a little with these values, so that you kind of have a smaller faces there. and with having that you kind of make sharper edges. And if you go to the smooth, the smooth mode, you can see that your buttons are kind of more rectangular than before.
Right.
And yeah,
How did you undo the smooth after you press 3?
yeah, one and
1?
three.
Okay.
Yeah, one
Okay,
goes to
thanks.
the normal mode. Yeah, you're welcome. And three goes to the smooth one. And uh, continuing that question, for example, if you want to go to the wireframe mode, you can use the 5, and coming for getting back, you can use the 5 to go to the shaded mode. And one more thing, for switching between different views, you can just quickly press and release the space. You will see 4 views, and then you can go and you can move your mouse over the view you want, and then press the space again and release it quickly. Or you can hold the space, right click on your mouse, and go to whatever view you want. So you can see we have 8 views here if you want to have more views. So yeah, I think that's it for kind of going over what we saw in the previous session. Let me ask if you have any question or problem so that we can kind of cover it here. Okay. So it seems everyone is kind of okay. There's also one more thing that can be kind of similar to what we did in the previous session. So if you remember, let me just bring a cube again and change it a bit. Enough. Okay. If you remember, we tried to have a circle in, let's say, in the center of our rectangle, and then we used it to make some, for example, cylinders coming out of it. So there are 2 ways actually. You saw the first one, and I will quickly show you what was that. It's not this one, sorry. And then I will talk about the other way. So let me just go to the top view, select all these edges, but deselect the bottom ones, then delete them, and you will see some, these vertices. And what you can do is to, if you remember, go to the model, into the modeling toolkit, and use the multi-cut tool to select the vertices which are placed exactly opposite each other, and yeah, do that for all of them. You can obviously go with more vertices if you want to have a better, let's say, circle, but just trying to go for a smaller one to save some time. That's a little big. Okay, and then what you can do is to select these edges, and then deselect the ones you don't want. Obviously you should go and see if you have selected unwanted ones from the bottom, and then go to this mode, use this button, circularize, and you will see a kind of good shaped circle that then you can use it for let's say extruding it upward or downward, or do whatever you want. Any question so far? I think we saw it in the previous lab. Okay, but what's the other solution? So let's just bring a cube again, and then 5 and 3. Maybe let's go with detail more than that. Okay, and you can go with I will tell what's this number, but you can select a kind of a number that is a coefficient of 4, But for example, I think 16 and 24 are kind of the best ones. But you can try and see which number works the best. Yeah, let me make sure. Yeah, 16. Okay. So what I'm going to do is to select these faces. Oh, sorry. And delete them. And then what I'm going to do is to create a cylinder here. Bring it up. Sorry. I think it's okay. And then, oh, it's not actually okay. Maybe we should make it a little smaller. So make it 16. That's what I said as a number. And let's just make it a little bit smaller in terms of its radius. Okay. Where did it go? Oh, I don't know what happened, but yeah, that's okay. And now you can see that if you look at both of them, you can see that, for example, this vertex, I mean, let's just go to the vertex. Yeah, this vertex is kind of in front of this one. This one from this cylinder could be paired by this vertex and so on. So I mean, that's important to have exactly equal vertices in both, let's say, our cube and our cylinder. And what we can do is to kind of try to move these vertices a bit nearer to our circle. So I'm just trying to select all the vertices which are kind of similar to each other. Okay, and then we can select. So I'm just talking about the basic idea. You can put some more time to make it exactly oh sorry, the same as what we have here. Okay, I think that's kind of fine. And then I think maybe we can make it a little bigger, maybe. Okay, and by moving it down, now what we can do, we can try to kind of weld these vertices to this one. So what the weld means that it kind of makes them exactly the same. I mean, yeah, for example, you have a vertex here, let's say this one, and then you have one here. You want these to be exactly the same, I mean the same position, and the faces you want, I mean, for example, they want to have this exact edge as one edge, not having two separated edges or two separated faces. They want, I mean, you want to connect these two objects together. For doing that,
Mahdi, I have a question.
mhm.
So why you didn't from the beginning make the cut in the base circular in the beginning? Because like you kind of like make it like a square and then you kind of narrow it down. So why you didn't make it circular from the beginning? Isn't that easier?
You
Or
want, for example, we go with all these edges and use this circular, for example, tool, yeah?
yes.
It's working for this instance, but let's say if you have a kind of not circular object, for example, you have I don't know, maybe an ellipse or yeah, any other shape that you want to kind of put it in your model, then what you have to do is to kind of make your vertices to be in the form of the other shape that you want to add. Yeah, and then use the either merge tool or this target weld tool to connect the vertices from the two objects.
Oh, okay, I see. Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome. So yeah, as I said, for doing that we should combine these two models, or you can, I think, go to yeah, to the mesh and then combine. and now they are exactly one. They are not separated, but the problem with the vertices is still there, and they are not the same. So one thing that you can do is kind of use the target weld. I hope that this works okay. Yeah, so hold shift and then select each two vertex and press the enter button on your keyboard to make them exactly the same. And that's I believe the order is important, so you know I didn't follow that one, I forgot to do it. Yeah, so for example you want this vertex to go to the other one. So what you should do is to first select the first one, and then the second one, which is the distance, sorry, the destination, and then sorry, it was in the reverse order. You are always working. Yeah, so select the destination position as the first vertex, and then the other vertex, and go with that. So you will kind of move your vertex to that position if that's important, because for example you want to keep your object's shape uh, exactly as it is. You don't want to kind of manipulate it there, so that's important to maybe, if that makes sense, follow the orders. I mean, first select the destination, and then select uh, the vertex that is going to go there. Yeah, that's one way. And the other way is to, if you want to kind of put them in the average position, just select that two vertex and hold shift, right click, and merge vertices, and go with merge vertices to center, and it will merge the vertices exactly to the kind of average position of them. And that could also be used for merging multiple vertices as well, if that makes sense, which it doesn't make sense here. In case it works, you can merge multiple vertices with together. So again, yeah, select all the vertices you want to merge, and then merge vertices to center. There is also another way, and it is, let me just select all of these vertices. Okay, and let's say you want to merge all of the vertices at once. You don't want to go over all of them. There is a threshold here that says if, for example, the distance between two vertices is less than 0.01, then merge those two vertices with together. And it seems that the distance is more than that. Sorry. What I should do is to maybe make it a little bigger. I'm not sure what number would work. It works for some of them, but it doesn't still work for all of them. And yeah, so now you can see that it kind of detects all the vertices which are near to each other, and merges them together. It works when you really need to do things really fast, but it as you can see, it's not as accurate as, for example, using the target belt or going over each vertex and working on it. And then if you kind of say I see that, let's say, these vertices have gone up, you can always select all these vertices that you want to be, would you want them to be in the same plane, and then use this scale tool to reduce their distance along the y direction or y axis. Yeah, and then at some point you will see that it doesn't work. It means that it's kind of very near to 0, and that should work for making them to be in the same plane. Yeah, so that's it for this part. And as I said, as one of you asked, you can, and I think it's better to just use this circularize tool here, because it makes, I think, even a better circle for you. But you may want to add some irregular objects to your, let's say, base model, and you may need to do these things. as well. And you always may need to also kind of merge two vertices together, and yeah, having a look at these tools is also important and may be useful. Yeah, any question for this part? Okay. Yeah, so let me just go and show you something else as well. There is also one thing that you may need to do in your modeling, and let me just yeah, bring two cylinders here. Okay, and let me rotate it a bit. And what I'm going to do is to, I don't think that I can do it for both. Okay, I'm going to make it a little smaller. Yeah, that's not really important, but the radius is more important. Okay, so let's say you want to for some reason connect these two objects together, and for now you want to put some vertices, I mean put all the vertices of this cylinder over the other one. Exactly, for example, let's say this vertex, you want it to go exact over this edge. Yeah, so what I mean, how we do that, you just select them, and then you can either use this yeah, snap to curves button here, or I believe use the C button. Let me just go to the yeah, that's not important, in the maybe side view. And then, as I said, I want these two vertices to go exactly over this edge, the upper edge, and just select C and middle click on, hold C and then middle click on the yeah, on the edge you want to move it. So select the vertices you want to move. Maybe these two, yeah, and hold C and do a middle mouse button click over the edge you want to move your vertex. And as I said, you may find it useful for some occasions. C again and then middle mouse click. Yeah, let's do the same here. But I think you kind of got the idea on what that means. Sorry, not this one. This one. Yeah, so you can just do these things to put your objects exactly. Okay, maybe where you want. Oh, side X, maybe left view. Yeah, that's also important to make sure that you do not kind of sorry move the position of your vertices. You may, for example, as I was doing, you may kind of move them in a way that they kind of get too far from each other, or you may make the overall structure of your model kind of messed up. So make sure that the distance between them is always correct. And also you may want to, for example, only shape your model in that way. So you can just delete this one and have a great kind of structure here, which could be really hard for you to do it with hands. So yeah, as I said, that the only maybe important part for doing these things is to make sure that yeah, you don't, let me just, yeah, you don't do something like this. You just make sure that they are exactly lined up in the place you want. Yeah, position the place you want. I don't know why I'm not holding this. Yeah, so that's important. It's kind of maybe a little hard to always work, so try it a few times so that it understands that you want it to only, let's say, move it downward to put it on the edge you want. Yeah. Any question on this part? And overall, make sure that you look at these snap options here. You may find them useful for, let's say, putting the vertices in the correct position. Any question, any problem? Okay, if that, we are going to do you want me to stop here? Do you need more time to try these, or you're fine? Okay, and what I'm going to do is to put a headphone picture in the lecture lab feed channel. Please go and pick it up and save it somewhere. We are going to try to model this kind of more complex object here. And while you are kind of downloading the picture and putting it somewhere and importing it, I'm going to do the same as well. Okay, and make sure that you go to the front view and then go to view and then import plane. If you don't do that, then the image is kind of going to be in the background of your perspective view, which is not what you want. Okay. Yeah, you need more time to import the picture, or you are fine? Yeah, I will wait for 1 minute so that you can all import the image, and we will go forward. Okay, so what we are going to take a look at here is the kind of curves, and you may find the curves useful in some occasions, especially when you want to design a curved structure like this. And if you are not happy with one point, you can either use the backspace or Ctrl+Z to undo that point. And yeah, also after designing the, let's say, your curve, you can still edit it if you think that needs to be modified. Okay, I think that's okay for me at least. And then what I would do is to go to the object mode to manipulate the whole curve. Let's say I want to move it forward or whatever you want. Let me just move my picture a little backward so it doesn't kind of intervene with my designed curve here. One thing to mention, and you will see that the curves you make here in the Maya scene are always positioned in the center. I mean the pivot is on the center. And if you want to change that, which I would recommend you to do, because you want your object to have the exact and correct position, center position, so that you can move it better and easier. And let me just find that, if you can find it here. There was a, okay, maybe it's not there, but what you can do is to go to the move tool in tool settings and then edit pivot. Okay, yeah, press D or go to edit pivot, press and hold D, I mean. Move it upward as you wish to position it relatively in the center. I remember there was, yeah, in the modify, I found it. There is also a center pivot option there as well, if uh, that's what you want. And I'm going to duplicate my curve here by Ctrl D and move it a little backward. And now what I'm going to do is to use the halt option here to put some faces in between them. One thing to note, it's not exactly the same as the faces we do. They are still kind of, it is kind of called a lofted surface for now, but that's good because we kind of have a set of faces here. One more thing, if you remember from the previous labs, when we were going into our models, you could see the faces are dark, but the outer place of our outer faces of our model are brighter. So you may also need to modify it if, for example, you want this side to be outside of your model. So that's also one thing to keep in mind. And for, let's say you are now finished with these curves, and for, let's say, hiding them for now, you just press H, and now they are hidden, and we only have our lofted surface. Again, you can go to modify and then center pivot to kind of recenter it there. And now what I'm going to do is to try to convert it to a polygon. And let me see, I forgot where was that. Okay, it's not this one. Actually, I forgot it. Where is it? Is there a convert here? Yeah, let me quickly search for that. Yeah, that's also one thing that you find it useful to search for. Let's say I'm just saying converting lofted surface to polygon, and I'm sure that there are always some solutions there. Yeah, it says go to modify. For example, here you can see that always Autotest has some forums that they say modify. For example, someone has asked how to convert lofted surface into polygons, and they answered modify convert. Yeah, I remember there was a convert tool, but I couldn't remember where was it placed. And you can convert it to polygon. Finally, we have our polygon, and I can hide my lofted surface or either delete it by the H key. And you may also find some kind of odd edges here. If you remember, we don't want a face having more than 4 vertices, which is 5 here, and that's not what we want. So let me just delete these edges. And again, if you remember, it may make some ghost vertices here and select all of them and delete. The Maya would understand.
Which convert tool did you use?
Yeah, modify, convert, and then NURBS to polygons.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other question? Okay. And let's see what we have here. We have our faces here, and then what you can do, or what you could do, is to before going that, you could also make another set of curve, and then make a halted object between them as well. Or we could, for example, before converting the lofted surface into a polygon, we could make two lofted surface and then make them into polygons, and at the end draw a bridge between them. But that's okay. I mean, I'm just saying you could do go with many different options here, and they are not really different. It's based on what you think works as the best one. And let me just put this vertex a little upward. Okay, and duplicate it. Oh, yeah, and move it into here. And now that's going to be a little hard because I should move my vertices and scale them a bit to make them positioned right. Okay, and move them down. Okay, so for example, you can see here that's a little problem with the curves. I have many points here, and it's not exactly the same in the, let's say, left side of our curve. And I will talk about maybe a solution for solving that, but let's just go ahead with that. Yeah, you can see these two kind of models are selected here, and again, if you remember, we could go with combine in order to draw a bridge between them. But before going forward, as I said, by looking at the faces, you kind of see the side they are kind of placed. So both of them are both of the faces are placed downward, which is not what we want. We want these faces to be kind of facing upward, because that's the outer position of our headset. And for doing that, again, I hope I can find it. There should be a reverse option somewhere. It's not here. Yeah, reverse is here. Okay. Now you can see these faces are kind of the inner faces of our model, and these faces are the outer ones. So I believe it was a mesh display and then reverse. And now what we can do is to select these. Yeah, first, sorry, we should combine these two models. And I believe it was somewhere here. I think it's this. Yeah. Okay, and then we can select the first set of edges and then the second ones. Hopefully this works. Sometimes Maya decides not to help you at all, and then you are going to have many problems, but hopefully this time it works correctly. I believe you can also select all of the edges in case Maya is in good shape today. Let's see if it understands what's going on here. Yeah, it can. Okay, so now we have designed our kind of curved object here, and as always you can go to vertices here and then move them in a way that makes more sense based on uh, the object's shape. And let's just talk a little bit about these edges here as well. So if you are not happy with, for example, having these edges here and you want to have a kind of symmetric object, you can always, as you saw, you can select those edges, sorry, and then delete the produced ghost vertices to have a more symmetrized object here. So that's one way. And there is also one thing to consider. If you want to have it exactly symmetrized, I would you could go with the only left, let's say, faces, and then let me just make sure that these are placed exactly on the middle. You can select your object. I think there was a question here. Could you go over the bridge again? Sure. Yeah, we should do many undos here. Okay, so what you can do is to double click on an edge. Sometimes, if you are lucky, it detects all the edge and all the boundary edges if you select on one of them, and then hold shift and select all the boundary edges in the next model and go to edit mesh bridge. It's here, or you can go to the modeling toolkit here and use the bridge here and make the bridged faces between two pieces of your model. And I'm sure that you know that you can play with these options in case you need more faces in between based on, for example, the smoothness of your model that you want to create or its structure. Yeah, is that solved, Robina, or do you want me to go over it again? Maybe. Yeah, okay, great. And yeah, let's go back. Okay, sure. Yeah, go to the edge mode, double click on one of the boundary edges in your first piece of your model, and then hold shift and double click on the on one of the boundary edges in the second piece. And as I said, either go to the edit mesh bridge or use this bridge here, and you will have your bridged faces. Is that okay? Yeah, I hope it's fine. Yeah, okay, great. And as I said, you could go with only having, let's say, the left half of your model from the beginning, or if, let's say, the model structure is not as you wished, you can always delete the, let's say, the right side, and make sure that you put your vertices exactly on this line by holding X and moving it. It just snaps your vertices into the green lines. Sorry. And then go over your objects, and where was that? I always forget the options, position. Yeah, there is a mirror here, and go to the mirror option there. I guess the axis would be Y, and let's see if that works. It doesn't. Oh my god. Okay, let's see again. Mirror. So that's also one thing to consider. There is always a problem that you may need to work with the options there. That's weird, Sarah. Just make sure that I mean, make sure that you have exactly the same number of edges selected in both of the pieces. Maybe you have not selected some of the edges there. Try it again. If the problem is still there, maybe we can share your screen after I kind of finish this part. Let's see if that's okay. Why it's not working? That's bad. Sorry, I'm just playing with this option here to see if I can make it work. Yeah, so it was the x-axis. Actually, it's kind of hard for me to imagine, so I will take a look at the picture. Yeah, I prefer to work with the options a little to find the correct set of options there. Set of, let's say, yeah, values there. I'm looking at the edges. Okay, so that's here. Yeah, as I said, sorry, it's possible that Maya just decides not to help you at all. So what you can do is to select a few of the edges at each step. So for example, select 4 edges and then select 4 edges from the downer, let's say, piece, the down piece, and then select bridge between them. Yeah, and then I guess you have done that, but make sure that you have combined the models with together. So what I'm saying is to yeah, maybe, as I said, that's Maya. It's completely possible that it decides not to help you in some parts. And yeah, if you remember from the sorry, it always tries to, yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, as you see in the previous lab, to have more smooth uh, edges in the normal mode, or also it's possible to use it for having hard edges in the soft mode, or in the smooth mode, I mean. We can use the bevel to make it a little uh, more smooth in these edges. And also, by, let's say, working with these numbers, you can always try to control the smoothness of your object, and that's possible. It kind of yeah, it kind of messes things up sometimes, and that's one reason. Oh, I forgot reason for this. That starting from this part at the beginning maybe is not going to be a really good option, and we will see why. Since it's not going to be exactly what we are going to do, so you don't need to do it. I'm just trying to go a little faster here to show you what would be the problem, and then we will go maybe for a better solution. Yeah, and then what I would do is to select these faces. Let's go to the front view, then extrude them. Use the scale tool to put them in the correct position. Do it again. Okay. You can have more or less of these parts based on how smooth you want your object to be, but that's only the matter of time. Okay, and now when we have reached this point, the problem, and you can kind of guess that there is a circle there. For designing a circle here is going to be really too much, because you can either go with let's I mean go back to what we were doing from previous scene in this lab. So you can kind of, let me just do it here. Yeah, you can make it a smaller along this dimension. Okay, and then as I said, you don't want, so you don't need to do it. You just, sorry, not 90 degrees. Yeah, just look at what I'm doing here, and let me just look at it from the side view. We can, for example, move it here, and then I hope it lets me to. Okay, it doesn't, because I have made many changes to it. we could, for example, go with more vertices, but just consider we have more vertices here. Yeah, for example, you could move this a little here, and then try to match these vertices here, these 6 vertices, I mean these, let me show you which ones, these 6 vertices to these 6 vertices here. So for example, as you saw from the previous example, you can go to the mesh combine, which doesn't work here for some reason. Okay, I don't know why it threw me error previously, but that's fine. And then going to the modeling toolkit, select the first edge. Oh yeah, so I missed it a little. Let me just move all these faces a bit forward. Yeah, that should be okay. We could go with the vertices, and then I think I should select the first one. Yeah, then the target well. Okay, it's perfect. Don't know what's happened there. Target well. Shift. Yeah, and then okay, I missed it. Why it is deciding to go the other way? Okay, it always tries to. Okay, I don't know. Yeah, I think you kind of get the idea here. Sorry. Oh, why it takes? Don't know what happens here. Yeah, let me sorry. Sometimes it just tries not to help you at all. Okay, you can deselect points with the backspace. I forgot to do that sometimes. Okay, now with having the vertices exactly in the same position, you see that, for example, by moving this vertex, all the faces are moved. But if you go back, yeah, for example, if you select this vertex, they are different. Even with holding V, which snaps the vertex to another one, they are not going to be the same. If and that happens when you either uh, sorry merge the vertices together or use the target weld, as you saw. It can work, but first the topology is not going to be really good, and second one, the kind of the position of the vertices are going to be kind of messy, and believe me, you will have more problems here for going forward and adding different parts. And because of that, I mean, with some experience, you will understand that you may, for example, in this example, be better to start with the cylinder here and then go with adding the kind of curved top part to it. But you may still find some way for going forward with that. For example, you can do the bevel thing here again, and then go forward with the let's say extruding some faces here and from there, and then making the smaller face, bigger faces there, bigger, let's say, kind of circular shapes there, and to form the, let's say, the ear uh, mm, parts of your earphone. But yeah, let's see what happens if we start to go uh, with the cylinder part. But is there any question before we go forward? Let me make a new scene here. Okay, and let me go to the front view. I should import the image again. I will try to do it fast. Perfect. And yeah, let's design our cylinder here. Make it a bit smaller. Make it a lot thinner and make it more smooth here. Yeah, there are also two other things that you may not have seen that yet. The first one are the subdivision height, which is kind of, I think, maybe similar to what you have saw from the previous parts, but this is also important. If you want to have some faces here to extrude them, you can use this one. And yeah, I mean, if you see the future and what you want to do in the next steps, before going forward and modifying it so much that you cannot add these subdivisions, you can go ahead and do it beforehand. Yeah. Okay. And going to this part. Okay, I don't know. Oh yeah, I should not hold shift. Sorry, it's because I used some other softwares. Okay, and let's just move it. My hand is a little bigger than what we need. Maybe. Okay, I guess that's good. And if you remember, by going to the wireframe mode with pressing 4 key on your keyboard, you can see the kind of through your model. If that helps, I think that's okay for me. And yeah, let me move it a bit backward. Okay, and now I want to it's better for you to go to the select mode if you want to select faces. I think that's better. Yeah, so what I'm going to do is to try extrude these faces here and extrude them in a curved manner. The one way is obviously try to put them like this and make a curved surface with that, which I mean you may have to put some time for it. And for example, let's say because there is kind of a very kind of important edge here, you could go until this part, and then what you could do is to yeah, go ahead with only adding one more piece here, and then what you could do is to, for example, select these edges and then go to the extrude part here and make it a little maybe bigger, position it correctly here, and you can see many things are going to be problematic here. I mean, you can do it obviously by playing a little with the vertices, but let's see if we have any other solution for that. And good news is, yeah, we have another solution. And going back to the curves, I can easily, oh sorry, don't hold the shift because it goes either right or up, for example, or down. Just use the mouse key. Yeah, I'm going ahead with, and try to keep the same distance between your pieces, which I did not really succeed here, but that's fine. Yeah, and it's kind of a little hard to make it work. You may select and deselecting a few times, yeah, to do it correctly, but I think I'm doing it correctly here. And then you could go with extrude, and you see that Maya is luckily is intelligent enough to select the make the number of faces I wanted from it to form the curve for me, and that's really good. And yeah, going back, let me show you something else for the curve as well. And I mean, if you remember, you could always modify your curve by working with these vertices. Let's say I wanted to have something like this. You could always work with this, but if you want to have a better curve, you could also convert it to a Bezier curve. And the Bezier curve, if you look at it more closely, it gives you more freedom. For example, you can give it some let's say rotation here, you can move it. It's maybe not for here particularly, but it's really important for uh, some complex structures here. You can also play with these points here. Yeah, so what I'm saying is you can have more control with a Bezier curve in case you need to modify it more, and it gives you more control. Yeah. So let's see if it works with the Bezier curve as well. I think it should, but I don't remember actually. Selecting this, then extrude. Okay, it works. Great. And yeah, as always, I think you know that you can play with these vertices to make it fit your model. What else? I think that should be it for this part, and let's see how we can do this remaining part here. I hope that works here. Let's see. Yeah, and then you can kind of make it small. Yeah, for example, let me just do it for one face, and hopefully if it works, we can go with the other faces as well. I mean, we can go with extruding the other faces like this for the next steps. Like, I mean, what we did for the curve, not by doing it by hand. But since we are going to have a bigger model here, kind of need to you kind of need to do it here in order to make it a bit bigger. And then there is also some problem with, let's say, the structure here, but I'm happy if that works for you. I mean, you may need to, for example, make it more like a cube instead of like a circle. Let's see if I can do it by selecting this face. Sorry, why it's not working here, because it's not in the face mode. Okay. I hope that I can kind of extrude it with using only the scale, but it's not working. Okay. Alright, so we have not selected this. Sorry, let me just select the faces. Okay. And then do the extrusion here. On and just escape it. Okay. It seems that it's not going to be really easy for this part. Yeah, it works. Okay, it works a bit. So again, you should work with these vertices a bit, but I guess the best thing for actually for this shape is to go with the more circular one, because you want your model to be kind of smooth, and going with the smooth kind of extrusion is going to be okay, I believe. One and yeah, okay. Wait, it's not. Oh, yeah. I should select these faces, not the upper ones. Sorry. Extrude and use this one. One here, and make it a little bit smaller, like this. Now again, what you can do is to select all these faces. I believe you could also use the patterns for selecting them, but that's fine. And now I can design another curve to extrude my faces. based on that. So let's just create a new curve here, and what I'm doing is to try go and select the center points. Okay, I guess that's fine. I want my point to be exactly on the grid, and I hope you can delete. Yeah, you can also delete some points if you don't need them, but maybe it's better to try to manipulate both of them. That's a little better. Yeah, but at least the good point is that I'm completely sure that my point is here. If you want it, for example, to be exactly on the y-axis. Any question so far? Okay, let's see how it works. Okay, so for a faster one, just hold the first one and then hold shift, double click on the second one, hold the shift again, the first one, and then double click on the second one. You will select all these faces, and I don't think that I have. Okay, I don't think that I have. No, okay. It's kind of sometimes it's hard to select the curve, and you should try to do it a few times. Let's see if that works. Okay, it doesn't help at all. Maybe there is a problem here. Let's see what's there. Which one is the curve? I've selected this one. Okay. And which one is that one? Okay. So yeah, maybe there is a problem with this selection here. I'm not sure. Also, don't forget to do this center pivot as well, but it's not the case here. And let me just try to do it again. Sometimes Maya is not yeah, in a good mood. Now I can select. Maybe you can just go and deselect it in the object mode. Sometimes if you have selected it from in the object mode previously, it doesn't select it again when you are selecting the faces. And go with the extrude. I guess that's okay, but you may need to detail a few more faces. And if you are, for example, not happy with this one, you can always go ahead and rotate them a bit, or I think the rotation is good actually, or move them a little. Okay, now before trying to mirroring our object, let's try to finish the left part, and then we can go with mirroring it. Okay, the only thing is that I think it's not going to work for the inner circle, which is the case here as well. So what I'm going to do is to take a look at the left view, if I'm not here, then select all these faces. I should go here and deselect the faces from this part, and you can either extrude these faces, or for example for this particular part here, I would go with the just moving these faces a little left. And yeah, the reason I'm saying that, for example, you may need to have an edge here or not, based on what you are thinking for your model. And then if you want to have a kind of more sharp edge here, you can always use the bevel tool or insert edge loop tool. They're the same here. And sorry, just make sure that your language doesn't change, because sometimes with the combination of the keys your language changes, and then the keys for the Maya won't work when you are in a language other than English. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, you should also, for selecting new faces, when you have selected a pattern, hold shift select the first face, and while holding the shift, double click the second one, and the problem still exists. The inner circle is not selected with the pattern. Okay, we should do it as you saw. And now, I think it's completely the same as what you have saw in the previous steps, in previous models, for example. You don't need to worry about that too much. Okay, let me just look at it from this part. You may need to move the vertices back a bit, and then again, yeah, there's also one thing that you may find it easier, and what I'm saying is to try to select the faces as best as we can. So for example, I could go with selecting the first face here, and then selecting the second one, and then go do it for the next circle. That's possible, but maybe the easier way is to select these faces and then deselect these ones, so the remaining faces are the ones that you want to extrude. And yeah, let me scale it uniformly. And having let's say multiple views is good, because while I am scaling my model from here, I can take a look at it in the, let's say, in the front view, to match it with my object. And also you may think that you need to for example, fill this part as well, and I think you are professional now on how to do that, but let me show you a bit. You can again go here, make it a little bigger, and then move it downward a bit, for example, if that suits your object. Maybe you should make it a little bigger. Yeah, because the image is also not in a high quality state, so you can kind of use your imagination on what you think is the best. And yeah, we should also do extrusion here, do another one here, scale it a bit, do extrusion here. Yeah, maybe here, and then you can always, sorry, not these faces, these face edges, you can always use the bevel to kind of make this effect as you see in your image here. You can increase the fractions, you can maybe make the segments, and make the fraction a little smaller to kind of mimic this structure here. And then I'm just trying to see if there is a wise way to select these faces. I don't think so. Okay, yeah, select these faces and then deselect the unwanted ones by again holding the control. Let me say that again. So if you want to add a face or a number of faces, hold shift and select them, either by clicking them or dragging your mouse over them. If you want to deselect some faces, press Control and then click on the faces or drag over them. And if you want to yeah, if for example you hold shift, you will deselect the ones that are selected previously. If you want to add all the vertices, not toggling their state, hold Control and Shift B together, and then you will be able to add all the vertices you want. And yeah, let me just go back to the selection I had. I hope, yeah, it's here. And then what you can do is to extrude them backward, or maybe if it is too much, you can always use an insert edge loop tool, put your vertices here, and then select these faces. Don't forget to remove the unwanted ones. Okay, then you can extrude it. And if you want to add more details, you can add insert edge loop tools in this area. Also, please tell me if you need more time. I'm just assuming that you are okay. Let's just make it, yeah. Put it maybe there, could be okay. And I guess we have our model here. So going to the soft mode, you can see a smooth kind of structure here. I forgot to show I mean the previous method we had, but adding the circle to your curve is kind of would kind of make your smooth shape a little weird. So yeah, I mean what I'm trying to show you here is to try to select the most important part in your model and try to start from that position. And usually it's better to start from the base, I mean from the let's say from the kind of uh, easier parts such as the cylinders, and then go with the curves, because you can always select some faces and then extrude them based on your curve. And going back to this normal mode, I just want to again show you that you can always use these insert edge loop tools to make your smooth shape as you want. So for example, if you want to have a harder edge here, you can always add some vertices near to it. I guess that's it, and let me just try to mirror it here. Hopefully that works here. Where is that mirror? I again lost it. Yeah, it's here. Let's see if it works. It doesn't. Apparently, X object info items. Actually, I don't know what I'm doing here. Maybe go with the word. Hopefully that works. Yeah. I don't know what was the problem, but I will try to do it here. And there is also one problem, you may see it here, which is that it seems the points are not exactly in the center. So for having a great mirror, you should make sure that your points exactly are in one plane. Let's say, yeah, it's not going to be smaller, and then put them exactly in the center. Let me try one more time to mirror it. I think the object should work. It doesn't. Okay, because maybe we have added some curves. It seems to be problematic here. Okay, now it seems that it is working. Maybe it's a little better to move these vertices a little upward to make it a more curved surface. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, and there is one thing that I forgot to show you here as well. Let me do it with another object, and not this one, sorry, with the poly modeling. Yeah, for example, don't do it, just I want to show you something. You don't need to do this part. Kind of, yeah. Let's just go with, oh, not the skin, sorry, with these numbers here, 5, then 3, and then 5 divisions here, 3 here, and then let's say I want to add a very simple cube here to my model. It's not the case that you want to do, but I'm just trying to show you something. I mean, obviously you don't need to do that, you can just extrude this face. But let's say you want to put some let's say models, some model into your model, or merge the vertices together. Let me just put it somewhere else. Yeah. So let me put it in the correct position. I'll move it a little upward. Okay. So again, let's combine the objects. Let me do the cheating here to make things faster. Okay, I think these are the vertices I want. Yeah, and then go with the merge vertices here, make it a little bigger so that we make sure that, okay, you can see that the faces are kind of distorted here because by looking at the faces you see that they are not in the same plane. That's also one clue for making sure that the vertices are placed smoothly, let's say in a good manner. There's still some problem here, but let's just don't worry for it for now. And there's one problem. If you just go to the model, you will see that there are some faces here, but we don't want to have this face because our model is a only one model, so we don't need to have two separated faces in between. And that's I think that's the problem for having these let's say distortions in the color of our faces. So you can just delete these faces, and by going to the smooth mode you can see it's a lot better. But let's just go back to the time that we haven't deleted the faces, and let's just do the smooth thing. You can see that these parts are a lot worse, but let me just going back and making it smoother. It seems a lot better. So make sure that you don't leave any face in your model. That's also one mistake that could be made. And again, if you are not happy with the center of your model, you can always go to modify and then use the center pivot. It will select the center for you, or you can select D, yeah, and then move your kind of pivot from to the place you want. But I'm happy with what I have here, and then use the D to make it back there. I guess that's it for this model. But I'm sure that you know that you can always use these outer edges to make it more sorry, more similar to an actual headphone by for example beveling it a bit, using, yeah, maybe 2 is enough. Also, one more thing to mention here, let me just go back to the part, yeah, bevel it. You can see if you have designed your model correctly. If you can select all the, let's say, edges in your model without any problem, that shows that the topology is correct. But if it is not able to select all the let's say edges, then there seems to be a problem, and you need to make sure that those problems are not there. And for example, for this part, you kind of see that it doesn't know either go to, let's say, right, left, or going back. That's okay because we have lots of faces connected here. But for these faces, these edges which are completely in the model, I mean, they are not the boundary edges, you can see that it can kind of select all the edges all over your model. So the topology is kind of okay. And yeah, if you find it problematic to use the bevel, as you saw here, I tried to bevel it. Let me show you. And it didn't give me that much control. I couldn't make these bevels place correctly. I think you always, hopefully if that works, you can always use the insert edge loop tool, as as a replacement to the bevel. Yeah, and you see it kind of detects, and that's really good. It goes and doesn't hurt our overall structure of our model if we want to add some edges for adding some more details or having maybe sharper edges. Any question? Also, if you see many unwanted objects here, such as these two, which we have deleted previously, you can go to edit and then delete all by type history, and then edit delete all by type non-deformed history. And then I believe, let's see what are these objects. You can hopefully delete these objects without any problem. But before that, if you try to delete those curves, because the faces are kind of connected to those curves, you could have some problems. But yeah, if you want to get rid of those, you can do it. Let's see if there are any things to mention here. Do you have any question? While you are thinking, let me also bring the assignment for you so that you can also ask questions for that if you think there is anything to be asked. Yeah, so you are asked to design a kind of digital camera, and I guess you have all the tools needed for doing that, and hopefully you have also the kind of skilled for doing that by trying to make those blender and picture from the previous lab and this headphone from here. But you can feel free to ask your question here on what you may need to do here, and if you have any question regarding that. I think also there is one thing that could help you, and I'm trying to see if I can find a good sample for you. I'm trying to see if I can find a good example to show it to you. I guess that's that these are not really good. Yeah, maybe it's something. Yeah, so for example, if you want to have some images for as a reference if needed to design your model, you can search for something like digital camera blueprint for modeling, and sometimes you can find some good pictures from different views. For example, from up, from front, from let's say from the back, or if you call it front, from the back. So I mean, I'm just saying, try to find a set of images for your camera. For example, this one could also work if you want to design from the up or from the front, to help you with looking at the vertices from different angles. So what you can do, let me just bring them here. You could, while you have the, let's say, front image here, let's say if you had a good image from the side, let me just see if I can find one. Obviously it's not going to be the same as what I have here, but I'm saying if you have a good image, let's say I want to use this one. Let me save it somewhere. Okay, it's not what I want. Okay, and then by going, as I said, to the, let's say, side view, and then import image. Let's bring it here. That but actually takes so much time to get to the, yeah, that's a little bigger than I want. Yeah, so for example, you could scale your side image and put it there. Let me see, where is that positioned? Okay, that's weird, it's not showing it to me here. Yeah, maybe there is something problematic what I imported. I'm not sure. Let me just do it again. Yeah, I guess I can just rotate it. Okay, minus 90 degrees. And then I think 0 degrees. Okay, not the rotation I wanted, obviously. Okay, and that should be along this direction, 90 degrees. Okay, and the only problem, yeah, that's okay. I was thinking that there is something wrong here. Yeah, so I'm saying that by having your model in 2 dimensions, let's say from the side and from the front, you can always take a look at your model from different angles and make sure that you are following the correct structure for designing your model. So if you can find a set of good images from different sides of your model, you can then use it for designing your model as it is. So for example, if I want to follow this one, I could make this one a little bigger and then go with it, but obviously it's not the same, or it's not what I was thinking for designing my model. But I think you got the overall idea on how you can maybe use different images from different views to model your object a little easier and more accurately if that's hard for you to imagine it. I'm just trying to see if there is anything to talk about here. Also, I mean, I don't think that you need to do it here, but you may need to, for example, have some easier modifications. So let me see if I can, if I could remember how it works. I think it's better to talk about it a little further in the lab, because I think you have had enough things to worry about for now. But I mean, just having an introduction about the lattice, it just gives you a cage here. Yeah, and then you can play with these numbers. And yeah, lattice point. That's what I was trying to find. Going to the lattice point. Oh, sorry. It doesn't let me. Okay. And then with playing with these points, you can manage your model a little easier. You know what I mean? Because let me show you what's the difference. So if you just move these edges only, these and the other edges are not going to be moved. Yeah, but let me just make it a little smaller in all dimensions that I can see. Yeah, so but if you try to sorry, that's a little hard for me to select as I have many objects here. If you try to use these points, you kind of have more control, and it moves many edges for you, not only one edge. So you can see it kind of keeps the overall structure of your model. You may save some time or have more accurate, let's say, positioning if you use these points for modifying your model. So if, for example, you want to, not too much, but for example, you want it to be a little, let's say taller. Right? I mean, you want the top to move a little upward. You can do it with these options here. So I mean, look at, if you have time, look at these deformations. You may find some use to some tools, but I think this could be the most let's say useful part for you. Yeah, something like this to make the modification easier for you. Is there any part that you want me to do it again for you? Is there any part missing while I was doing these steps? Okay, if not, then I guess the lab is finished for today. Yeah, and again, please don't forget to uh, keep your model structure correct, because if you don't do it, then in the next steps, for example, for adding uh, the edge loops or the bevel, for using the bevel toolkit, you will have many problems, and that's going to be a little hard for you to continue modeling, and also it would be really harder for next steps such as animating objects. And at the end, if you want to let's say make your model more smooth and smoother, to let's say import it for some other softwares, you can go to the mesh and then smooth, and you can do it many times as you want. But where was that? Actually, I forgot where was it, but it, that's really hard for me to find it now. Okay, I don't know where was that. I forgot. But yeah, I mean, I was saying that, yeah, it's here. Sorry. You can do it many times, as many times as you want, to make it bigger, and you can also go backward and reduce the uh, number of let's say faces or edges. But it's not going to be always good. You may lose some details in reducing it, and it's not always the best tool to use, but sometimes it works. I'm trying to see if there is anything to mention to be helpful. Let me just search for one more thing. I think that could be also helpful for you. Uh, yeah, there's also one thing to display. Sorry, let me just. Yeah, what I'm trying to do, I'm saying to look at the. Always try to search for what you want. Select display heads up display poly count. Okay, display heads up display, and then poly count. Yeah. So that's also one good thing to have, especially when you are designing your model. So I mean, by looking at these numbers here, I can understand that the faces here are uh, around 5,000, which is kind of I can say not too low, and that could be a problem, for example, for games, because it should be real time in the games. And if you have a complex object like this, which may not be really important for your game, and having multiple of these objects, that could be a problem. So you can also try to learn how to kind of optimize your shapes in order to have less faces, let's say, uh, for your model, to make it uh, optimized for the games or for some other softwares. And yeah, also I think that's a good sign for us. uh, no, actually no, that's not correct. But if you hadn't have these circles, Then you could also check that if all your faces are quadrangle ones, because by multiplying by 2 you could see if the triangles, if that's exactly twice the number of your faces, which I guess it's not here, yeah, because as I said we have circles. But if you didn't have circles, you could also check to see if all your faces are having 4 vertices or not. Yeah, I guess that's it for today. Actually, I cannot think of any other important thing, but as I said, feel free to also modify your model. So for example, if you are not happy with the position of your vertices there, you could easily manipulate them to make it better. Any other question, any problem, any concern? Okay, if not, I think we can just finish our lab for today, and that should be all the things I wanted to cover for today. And also feel free to come to the office hours to ask questions if you need any help. Okay, I will stay until 4:50 here if you have any question, but yeah, that's it. Andrea, do you have any question? I think you had one. Yeah, I think I can